Ragnar Lothbrok, the rise and fall of a Viking legend. The year is 845 AD. A lone longship cuts through the North Sea's fury, its dragon-headed prow slicing through the waves like a blade. At its helm stands a man whose name would echo through history, Ragnar Lothbrok, farmer, warrior, king, legend. But who was he really? How did a simple farmer rise to become the most feared Viking of his age? And what price did he pay for glory? One name has endured across the centuries: Ragnar Lothbrok. He was more than just a man. He was a legend forged in the fires of myth and history. From humble beginnings as a farmer to becoming the scourge of Europe, Ragnar's saga is one of courage, ambition, love, and loss. Today, we dive into the extraordinary life of Ragnar Lothbrok, the Viking warrior whose legend echoes through Norse sagas, historical chronicles, and modern storytelling. Early life, a boy of the North. Though historical evidence is sparse, the sagas tell us that Ragnar Lothbrok was born in the early 9th century in what is now Denmark or Sweden. He was not born into kingship, but grew up on a modest farm, the son of a chieftain named Sigurd Ring. From a young age, Ragnar displayed an unmatched curiosity and restlessness. While others were content with tending livestock or harvesting crops, Ragnar dreamed of adventure, of becoming like the heroes in the old songs, those who sailed west and never bowed to kings or fate. His upbringing was steeped in Norse tradition. He listened to stories of Odin and Thor by the firelight. He learned to wield a sword, row a longship, and survive the brutal winters. Life in Scandinavia was not easy, harsh terrain. Poor farmland and tribal rivalries meant that only the strong survived. These trials forged Ragnar's resilience and desire to become more than just another farmer, becoming a Viking warrior. Ragnar's transformation began when he proved himself in battle as a young man. According to legend, his first great feat was slaying a monstrous serpent that guarded the home of Thora Borgarjord, a noblewoman. To protect himself, Ragnar wore breeches boiled in pitch and fur, earning him the nickname Lothbrok, or Hairy Breeches. He later married Thora, his prize for the heroic act, and began to gain fame across the Viking world. With every raid and conquest, his legend grew. Unlike most warriors, Ragnar fought not just with brute strength, but with a sharp mind. He mastered the sea, striking fast and vanishing before his enemies could respond. His fleet of long ships was both his weapon and symbol of power. His raids reached as far as the coasts of Ireland, France, and Anglo-Saxon England. Struggles as a Viking king. Though a warrior first, Ragnar eventually became a king, not by birthright, but by conquest. Ruling was far more complex than raiding. Ragnar struggled to unite the squabbling Viking clans under one banner. He believed in expanding Norse influence not just through pillage, but through settlement and trade. However, this vision wasn't shared by all. Many Vikings preferred the old ways of constant raiding and short-term glory. Ragnar had to balance the bloodlust of his warriors with his own ambitions for a united, prosperous Viking world. He also struggled with the expectations placed upon him as a legendary figure. He was admired, feared, and envied, often all at once. Every defeat, every failed raid, chipped away at the myth people had built around him. In his later years, Ragnar was no longer the unstoppable force he had once been. His body aged, but the fire inside him burned as fiercely as ever. Love, marriage, and Lagertha. Before Thora, the sagas tell of another important woman in Ragnar's life, Lagertha. A fierce shield maiden, Lagertha fought by his side and ruled in her own right. Ragnar met her while attempting to rescue her from a house guarded by a bear and a giant hound. In a feat of sheer courage, Ragnar killed both beasts with nothing but a spear and his bare hands. Impressed by his bravery, Lagertha agreed to marry him. Their relationship was passionate but turbulent. Though Ragnar admired Lagertha's strength, he eventually left her to marry Thora, seeking a more politically advantageous union. Despite this, Lagertha remained an influential figure in Norse legends, remembered not just as Ragnar's wife, but as a powerful warrior and leader in her own right. After Thor's death, Ragnar later married Aslaug, a woman of mysterious lineage who was said to be the daughter of the legendary dragon slayer Sigurd and the shield maiden Brynhild. With Aslaug, Ragnar fathered sons who would become legends themselves: Ivar the Boneless, Bjorn Ironside, Vidser, and Sigurd Snake in the Eye. The Paris raid and Ragnar's decline, one of Ragnar's most famous exploits, was the raid on Paris in 845. With a fleet of over 100 ships, he sailed up the Seine River and laid siege to the city. The Frankish king, Charles the Bald, tried to resist, but eventually paid Ragnar 7,000 pounds of silver to leave, a staggering sum. This victory cemented Ragnar's place as the most feared Viking of his time. But the Paris raid also marked a turning point. The effort had been massive, and the political backlash among both Franks and rival Vikings was significant. Some began to question whether Ragnar's thirst for glory outweighed his duty as a king. The Snake Pit, Ragnar's death. According to legend, Ragnar met his end in England after being shipwrecked on the coast of Northumbria. Captured by King Ella, an old enemy, Ragnar was thrown into a pit of venomous snakes. As the serpents bit into his flesh, Ragnar is said to have laughed and uttered one of the most iconic lines in Norse lore: how the little piglets would grunt if they knew how the old boar suffers. These were not just words of defiance, they were a prophecy. Ragnar's sons would avenge him, and they did so with terrifying precision. The vengeance of Ragnar's sons in 865, the Great Heathen Army, led by Ragnar's sons, Ivar the Boneless, Ubbe, and Halfdan, invaded England. Their campaign was brutal and relentless. Kingdom after kingdom fell. Eventually, they captured King Ella and executed him in a manner reserved for the worst enemies, the dreaded Blood Eagle, where ribs were spread open from the back and lungs pulled out to resemble wings. The death of Ella did not just fulfill Ragnar's prophecy, it altered the course of English history. The Viking presence in England changed from raiding to occupation and settlement. Towns like York became Norse strongholds. Viking influence seeped into English language, culture, and politics for generations. Legend or legacy? So, was Ragnar Lothbrok real? Was he a hero or a villain? A king or a myth? The truth likely lies somewhere in between. He may have been a fusion of several Viking warlords, but the name Ragnar endures because he represents something greater, the eternal struggle to rise above fate, to chase glory, and to leave a mark on the world. In the end, Ragnar Lothbrok's story is not just about battles or blood. It's about a man or an idea that came to define a people, and whether he lived or not, his spirit sails on every time we tell his tale. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Was Ragnar a hero, a villain, or something far more complex?